In this video, we are going to continue working on the sheets. I have the reflected ceiling plan here or the two reflected ceiling plans on this sheet right here. Now I'm going to go to level 1 and I'm going to use some reference planes in order to kind of bring some consistency to the locations of these details. So click on the architecture tab. Reference plane is on the right here. I'm going to start by making a reference plane down the middle of the project, and I'm going to move this one 5 feet up, and I'm going to copy that one 10 feet down. So I will have two reference planes or reference lines that are 5 feet to either side there. I'm going to make a copy of this one, copy from one grid to the next. And for this one, I'm going to copy it up, but only 8 feet. Okay. And I'm also going to make a copy of this one 3 feet down. Okay, so I've got from the column center line here, one that's 2 feet from here to here, and one that's 5 feet, and one 5 below. And at this one, I have one that's 3 feet up and 5 feet down. I'm going to scroll over here to the far left. I'm going to create another reference plane on column line number 2. And I'm going to move this one over 5 feet. And I'll make a copy of this one 10 feet over. Okay, now I'm going to copy 2 of them. I've held down the control key to choose both in the same selection set. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to go from 2 to 3 to 4. Okay, so now I have these reference lines, and if you click on the other views, this is level 2. If I go to the reflected ceiling plan, you can see that they're there. If I go to my section looking north, I have them, just the ones that are running in the north-south direction. So I'm going to go back to level 1, and now I can start adding some call out bubbles. So I'm going to go to view, and I'll make my first one. Here's the call out right here. They don't have to be perfectly on these green reference lines. The idea is just that there's some visual consistency here. I'm going to bring this down here. I'm going to bring this down. Oops, I think I have to keep this horizontal. Let's start over. Bring this down, bring this up maybe. Okay, so now I have that reference key in place, and I'm going to create another one that is in the middle here. We may need to adjust these later, but this is going to be fine for now. And I'll move this one up here, and I'll bring it to a straight before turning it. Let's see, let's try to get that a little bit straight, because we're going to make copies of this, so we want it to be somewhat consistent. Okay, so now it's horizontal, and we can continue working on these. All right, I'll be making copies of this, but one thing you'll notice is that these views have now been generated, and I am going to right-click on them, level 1, and we'll call this one, we'll rename it Cavity Wall. Column. And the second one, oh, actually, I think I need to rename this one. The first one that I made was the corner. So we're going to call it cavity wall corner, just so, you know, there are going to be a lot of details here, and I want to make sure that it's clear what they're referencing to. So this is corner, and the second one I made was the column. So we'll call this one cavity wall column. Put a hyphen there so that they're consistent. Okay, so now what I can do is make copies of these for all 4 of them. So let's start with this one, copy, and I'll snap to the 3rd column line, 6th one, the 9th one, the 12th one, and we should see now that there's all these new ones. So the trick will be in making sure that you're naming them properly. So column, probably column 1. Let's rename this one. This is going to be steel. This is the steel structure column. Okay, the one that's 2. Rename this one will be the precast. And the one that's column 3 was the last one that I made. So this one is going to be mass timber column. I'm going to delete that. Okay. So when I go to these details, we can just verify that they are in fact the ones that they're labeled as. If I go to cavity wall column, yes, that's right. If I go to the steel column, there's the steel. If I go to the precast column, I should have a square, and mass timber also a square, but a smaller one. So those are about the same size. So this should be mass timber. I'm going to rename this. I left out the B. Okay, so I'm going to go back to level 1, and I will make copies of this one in the lower right. So we're going to copy, and same thing. I'm going from the first structure to the second, to the third, to the fourth. So I'll have these call out bubbles, and then I want to rename them. So this was the first one. The second one should be steel corner. The names for these on the sheets might be a little different, but this will kind of keep things straight until we get to that point. The one that is column or corner 2, rename. This is the precast corner. And corner 3 should be the mass timber corner detail. Okay, now for those reflected ceiling plans, I'm going to go to level 2 because they have a little bit more detail. Here is where I'm going to create some more call outs. So this one here, I'll go to the bigger, to the 10-foot mark. So 5 feet above, 5 feet below. So this will be a kind of a square detail. Okay, so for this one, it's going to be a little tricky to get the column target here to be visible. I'm going to click on the bubble, and I'm going to pull this out but I'm going to drop it down a little bit so it's below that column line, and I will bring it to horizontal. There we go. And I'm going to make copies of this one too. So click on it, copy, and then go from the same column center lines all the way across. And you should see that these new callouts have been made. So I'm going to call this one, you rename it RCP for reflected ceiling plan. And this will be cavity wall. I could call that masonry wall too. Rename this one. This one is going to be steel, RCP steel. Third call out here will be precast or RCP precast. And the final one will be mass timber. RCP okay. Next, we're going to go to the section, and we'll generate some wall sections and some section details at those center columns. So I'm going to go down to section looking north. It probably would be a good idea to create another reference plane here. So I'm going to go to architecture, reference plane, and I'll make one at level 3. And then I will move that one. Click on it, move. Let's move that up 5 feet, see if that's enough. All right, now I might need to move these column bubbles up also to make a little space. But we'll see how that goes. All right, so I go to view and I do a call out, and this call out will go from this intersection. Now these are going to maybe be a little bit different because we need them to only be big enough to include what is shown in the drawing here. But if you look at some of the other ones, they're much deeper. Okay, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move it over to the other side. We'll just leave it horizontal. Maybe I will bring it down just a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and make the copies of this one. Copy, and again, just use this a constant reference grid for this. Okay, now some of these we will have to stretch to make them, we want to make sure we capture the whole wall section. This one too. Not quite as deep, but at least deep enough. And then we can go and we can rename these before we get confused about which one is which. I'm going to call this one, rename it, I'll shorten it a bit. Section, maybe section north. Let's see here, this will be cavity wall section. Okay, the second one, section north, steel wall section. Third one, section north, precast wall section. And the last one is going to be section north, mass timber section. Okay. And we'll also create another call out. I'll make a copy of this one from here to here. This one, I'm going to bring target over here to the other side. And let's see here. I can either copy this. Yeah, this would probably be easiest. Copy and go down the line. Copy them all. And for these, we also need to sort of stretch them. Roughly the same height here. And go and rename them. So I've got cavity wall section. I'm going to rename this one instead of calling it wall section. I'm going to save my project here. Is rename cavity section at column. Yeah, I will rename will be steel. Paste that steel section at column. Third one. Oops. Let's rename it precast. Section at column, and the last one will be mass timber section at column. Okay, so if you go through all these, you will see we have these new callouts created. And they are all at 1/16 of an inch scale, or they're at 1/8 of an inch scale. I guess when you make a call out, it automatically does it half the size, or it doubles the size of the scale. Okay, so now I have all the call outs made, and in the next steps, we'll be bringing these details to some sheets.